Parents uninvited me from Mother's special day. I casually mentioned halting their massive money transfer. Now they're desperately seeking forgiveness. Be me, longtime lurker on /B/. Never thought I'd be dropping my own nuclear family drama here. But sometimes you gotta let that shit out, you know. Some background before I, 27-year-old Blake, dive into this dumpster fire. I'm the younger of 2 kids. Work as a network administrator for a healthcare tech company. Making decent money, nothing crazy, but I got my life together. My sister, I'll call her, Victoria, is 34. The artistic one who's been my parents' golden child since like the beginning of time. Our dad worked management at a steel plant for 25 years, until he got laid off 3 years ago. Mom's always done admin work mostly part-time, so she could be there for Victoria when we were growing up. I was always the easy kid. Good grades, no trouble, kept to myself. Got that full ride to computer science school. Graduated. Landed a solid job. Vic was the drama queen. Good and bad. When she succeeded at something rare, it was like she'd cured cancer. When she failed her natural state, it was never her fault. Some teacher had it out for her. Or Mercury was in retrograde. Or whatever excuse worked that day. When she needed money constantly, the family rallied like she was a GoFundMe cause. When I needed anything, well, I was so capable I could handle it myself. I used to think that being the reliable one would earn me some peace. That if I stayed out of trouble, did everything right, kept my head down, they'd eventually see me, respect me, but they just got used to me not needing anything. Like being low maintenance somehow made me less of a son. That's how it's always been. Vic, the special snowflake who needs protection. And me, the afterthought who's expected to just deal. 3 years ago, Dad lost his job when his company downsized. After 25 years, they tossed him aside like yesterday's trash. That hit him hard, harder than anyone expected. He fell into this depression, couldn't find equivalent work. Mom's part-time gig wasn't enough to cover their bills. One night, Mom called me crying. "We might lose the house, Blake. The mortgage is 3 months behind. We don't know what to do." So I stepped up, paid the back mortgage, set up automatic payments for their utilities, started sending grocery money. It was supposed to be temporary, just until Dad gets back on his feet. Mom said something shifted in me during that time. I wasn't just helping them. I was trying to earn something I didn't even realize I was missing. Maybe approval, maybe connection. Maybe just a damn thank you that felt like it meant something. I started tying my worth to how much I could give. And when they stopped acknowledging it, it messed with me more than I'd ever admit out loud. But Dad didn't get back on his feet. He took a job at half his former salary. Their expenses stayed the same. And somehow I became their unofficial support system. At first they were grateful, like genuinely grateful. But then something changed. The thank you stopped. My contributions became expected, not appreciated. And gradually I noticed they started talking more about how Victoria was helping so much. I brushed it off initially. Maybe she was pitching in too. But then came Christmas last year. Uncle Rick raised a toast to Victoria. For keeping this family going through hard times. Everyone cheered. I looked around confused as fuck. Victoria just smiled modestly and said, "You guys, it's nothing. Family takes care of family." Later, I overheard my cousin Megan telling her husband, "Vic pays all their bills now." Blake never offers to help even though he makes way more. I stood there, grocery bags in hand that I'd paid for, stunned. What the actual hell was going on? But then I cornered Victoria that night, while she was getting wine from the garage fridge. "Are you telling people you're paying Mom and Dad's bills?" I asked. She didn't even flinch, just gave me this look half challenge, half warning. "They need to believe someone cares, Blake. I'm the one actually paying Victoria." She smiled. That smug little smile that made me want to yeet her into the sun. "But I'm the one actually here. You show up what once a month? Drop off some cash and think that makes you a good son. They need more than your money. So you're taking credit for my money and making me look bad." She sighed like I was being dense. "They're happier thinking I'm helping. Mom's always worried you're struggling. That they're a burden to you. This way everyone feels better. Everyone except me?" She patted my cheek condescendingly. "You've always been so hung up on recognition, Blake. Some of us just help because it's right. Not for the gold star." In that moment, I didn't feel angry. I felt hollow, like I was a stranger at my own table. I wanted to stand up and scream that I'd been keeping the lights on, that everything they praised Victoria for came from me. But some part of me still held back. Like if I said it, it'd prove I was the selfish one they believed me to be. So I said nothing, kept paying. And the resentment grew. I might have continued indefinitely in this twisted arrangement, if not for what happened 4 months before Christmas. I came by my parents' house unannounced on a Thursday to drop off a new router. Their internet had been spotty, and my dad kept blaming the Wi-Fi for everything. Mom wasn't home yet, but Dad and Victoria were in the kitchen. I was about to call out when I heard my name. "Blake's always been so cold," Victoria was saying. "Even as a kid, remember how he never wanted hugs? He's just different." Dad replied, but his tone suggested different wasn't a compliment. "I just don't understand how he can know you guys are struggling and not offer to help," Victoria continued. "That fancy condo, his trips to Denver for those tech conferences. Meanwhile, I'm stretching every dollar to keep the lights on here." I froze, my blood turning to ice. You know we appreciate everything you do, Vic, Dad said warmly. Those bill payments, the groceries, we'd be lost without you. Well, someone has to be the responsible one, Victoria sighed dramatically. I canceled my spa weekend to cover the property taxes. But don't tell Mom, she'd just feel guilty. I nearly laughed out loud. I had paid those property taxes. $1,200 transferred directly to the county treasurer's office last month. Your mother and I raised one child with a heart at least, Dad said. And the casual cruelty of it stole my breath. Blake's always been focused on himself. Hey, it's not your fault, Victoria said soothingly. Some people are just born with empathy, others aren't. I backed away silently, went out the front door, closed it loudly, then called out hello as if I just arrived. Victoria appeared from the kitchen, face transformed from scheming to sunny. Blake, what a surprise! I mumbled something about the router. Stayed for exactly 20 minutes, then left. In my car, I sat shaking. Not from sadness, but from a cold, clear rage I'd never felt before. That night, I did something I should have done months earlier. I created a spreadsheet of every dollar I'd given my parents over the past 3 years. Mortgage help, $4,800. Utilities, $2,600. Groceries, $1,500. Car insurance, $900. Property taxes, $1,200. Emergency cash, $600. Plus total, $11,600 freaking dollars. Not a single acknowledgement. Not one genuine thank you. Just Victoria taking credit and painting me as the heartless son who didn't care. I started paying more attention after that. I noticed how Victoria would make a show of checking her bank account and sighing dramatically whenever bills were mentioned around family. How she'd post cryptic martyr-like captions on Instagram. Family first always, no matter the sacrifice. I even found a group text I wasn't included in, where she wrote, "Water heater replacement handled, don't worry about it." With my goddamn money. The more I looked, the more I saw. This wasn't just Victoria taking casual credit for my help. This was a systematic campaign to establish herself as the family savior. While casting me as the selfish villain, she wasn't just stealing my credit. She was stealing my place in the family. And I let her. For 3 years, I let her. Until Christmas. It's Christmas Day, everyone's supposed to be happy, right? Family gatherings, turkey dinner, all that wholesome shit. I drove 5 hours to my parents' place, fighting traffic the whole way. Had some homemade apple pie I actually put effort into. Because I'm an idiot who still tries. Even wore that burgundy button-up my mom always says makes me look professional. Her way of saying I clean up okay. I knock on the door, waiting for the usual lukewarm welcome. But when my mom answers, she only cracks it open. Like I'm some door-to-door salesman trying to scam her. "Blake, you can't come in today," she whispers. Not happy Christmas or hey, good to see you. Just straight-up rejection. I blink, thinking maybe I misheard. What, you're kidding, right? Mom glances behind her nervously. Then steps out onto the porch and pulls the door almost shut. It's better if you didn't join us today. Things are a bit tense. I drove 5 hours to be here, I say. My voice still level, but my head starting to pound. I know, she says, still keeping her voice down. But Victoria said she wouldn't come if you were here. She's been under so much pressure lately. With everything she's doing for the family. Victoria, my sister, the golden child. Of course it's her. From inside I can hear glasses clinking and laughter. My Uncle Rick's booming voice. What would we do without Victoria keeping this family afloat? Then my sister's voice, deliberately loud enough to carry. I just believe family should support each other. Some people understand that better than others. I stand there, hands full of gifts they don't deserve, feeling something shift inside me. Not rage, not yet. Just the first small crack in a dam that's been holding back a flood for years. I nod slowly. I see. It wasn't just betrayal, it was clarity. The kind that burns through denial. I'd spent my whole adult life trying to be what they needed. Waiting for the day they'd look at me and finally see me. Instead, they slammed the door in my face to keep their favorite illusion intact. I wasn't just being excluded. I was being erased. Maybe next weekend would be better, Mom suggests. Not meeting my eyes. Victoria's been so stressed about the mortgage payment she covered last month. Something clicks. The mortgage she told you she paid? Well, yes, and the utilities. She's been such a blessing since your father's layoff. I pull out my phone and without a word open my banking app. Mom, who do you think has been paying your bills for the past 3 years? She looks confused. Victoria's been handling everything. She shows us the receipts every month. Those are my receipts that I send her when she asks for confirmation, I say. My voice deadly calm. I've been paying your mortgage, utilities, internet, everything. Over $8,500 in the last year alone. Mom's face goes blank with confusion. But Victoria said, I hit a button on my phone app. Well, I just turned off all the utilities. They're in my name. Let's see how Victoria handles that. Mom's eyes widen. What, you can't? From inside, I hear my sister's voice rise in panic. The Wi-Fi just went out and why did the lights flicker? I turn and walk back to my car, ignoring my mom calling after me. As I'm backing out of the driveway, I see Victoria burst through the front door, face twisted with rage and panic, phone held up like a weapon. Blake, what did you do? She screams. I roll down my window. I gave you what you wanted. Christmas without me. Enjoy explaining to everyone how you've been supporting the family. Now that the power's out. As I drive away, I catch her expression in my rearview mirror. Pure terror. Because she knows that the house of cards she's built is about to come crashing down. The first domino has fallen. After I drove away from Christmas dinner, my phone exploded with notifications. Mom called 7 times, Dad 5. Victoria blew up my phone with increasingly panicked texts. Turn it back on WTF is wrong with you. Mom is crying the food is going to spoil. You're ruining everything. I silenced my phone and drove to a state park nearby. Found a quiet spot overlooking a lake. For the first time in years, I felt something close to peace. Like I'd finally put down a weight I didn't even know I was carrying. When I finally checked my phone again, I had 38 missed calls and 62 texts. One voicemail from Dad stood out. Blake, this childish stunt needs to end now. Turn the utilities back on and we can discuss your issues later. My issues, right? I texted back 2 words. Ask Victoria. Then I turned my phone off completely and drove home. I knew what was coming and I needed to prepare. Sure enough, around 9 p.m., there was frantic knocking at my apartment door. The whole family had arrived. Mom looking devastated, Dad grim and angry, and Victoria alternating between fake tears and genuine panic. I opened the door and leaned against the frame. Can I help you? Victoria tried to push past me. Fix it right now. I blocked her with my arm. Fix what exactly? I thought you were paying all the bills. That's what you've been telling everyone, right? Her face went from flushed to pale in an instant. Mom and Dad exchanged confused looks. What is he talking about, Victoria? Mom asked, her voice small. Victoria recovered quickly. He's making things up to cause drama. He's jealous that I've been helping while he's been absent. I laughed, not a happy laugh. The kind that makes people uncomfortable. One chance, I said to Victoria. Tell them the truth or I will. I don't know what you're talking about, she said. But her voice wavered. I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app, and turned the screen toward my parents. See these payments? Every month for 3 years. Mortgage company, electric company, water company, internet provider, property taxes, all from my account. They leaned in, faces confused. This doesn't make sense, Dad said slowly. Victoria said she was covering those. Victoria was standing back, arms crossed defensively. I have my own system. Just because you make some payments doesn't mean I haven't. Every single bill, I cut her off. Every dollar while you told them all I didn't care enough to help. While you posted on social media about your sacrifices for the family, Mom turned to Victoria, her expression changing from confusion to dawning realization. Victoria, have you been lying to us? Victoria's eyes darted around like she was looking for an escape route. It's complicated. I've been helping in other ways. Like what? I asked. Your inspirational Instagram posts? Your emotional support? Don't you talk to your sister that way. Dad started, but his voice lacked conviction. Unbelievable, I said, shaking my head. You find out she's been lying about thousands of dollars, and you're still defending her. We don't know that she's. Dad began. Call the utility companies, I challenged. Ask them whose name the accounts are in. Ask them who's been making the payments. Victoria's face crumpled and right on cue the tears started flowing. It was her trump card, the one that had worked since we were kids. I was trying to help, she sobbed. Blake doesn't need the recognition. He doesn't care about family the way I do. I was protecting him. Protecting me, I repeated. By taking credit for my money and making everyone think I don't support the family? You don't understand, she cried. They needed to believe someone close was helping them. You're never there. And there it was, the real reason. I wasn't physically present enough. So Victoria had decided I didn't deserve to be acknowledged at all. My mother sat down heavily on my couch. I don't understand, Victoria. You specifically said you were paying the utilities. You showed me receipts. Screenshots, I corrected. Screenshots of my payments that she asked me to send as confirmation. Dad was looking back and forth between us, his worldview visibly crumbling. But all those times you said you couldn't go on trips with your friends because you were paying our bills. Victoria just cried harder. She's been playing you, I said quietly. Using my money to make herself look like the hero, while making sure everyone sees me as the villain. That's not true, Victoria shouted through her tears. I've been helping in ways Blake doesn't understand. Emotional support is just as important as money. I laughed again. Emotional support doesn't keep the lights on, Vic. We need to calm down, Dad said, defaulting to his usual role of protecting Victoria from consequences. There's clearly been a misunderstanding. No misunderstanding, I interrupted. Just a lie. A 3-year lie that turned our entire family against me. While Victoria basked in praise for my sacrifices, the room went silent except for Victoria's sniffling. So here's what happens now, I continued, feeling strangely calm. I'm done paying your bills, all of them. The utilities stay off until you set up accounts in your names. Victoria can either tell the entire family what she did, or you can keep believing her lies. But either way, my wallet is closed. You can't just cut us off, Mom gasped. I'm not a bank, I replied. I'm your son, the one you never see, remember? The cold, distant one who doesn't care about family, according to Victoria. Victoria suddenly shifted tactics, her face hardening. You're only doing this because you've always been jealous of me. Always Mom and Dad loved me more and you can't handle it. The room temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. You're right. They always loved you more. But I'm not here to beg for scraps. I'm here to shut off the supply you've been living off. You built your whole image on my back. Let's see how long it holds when I stop carrying it. I opened my apartment door. We're done here. Go explain to your Christmas guests why the toilets won't flush. As they filed out, Victoria paused in the doorway. You'll regret this, she hissed. Low enough that our parents couldn't hear. No one's going to believe you over me, I smiled. As a great man once said, I don't need you to believe me, I just need them to... I closed the door on her shocked face, and for the first time in years felt like I could breathe. The aftermath was exactly the chaos I expected. Victoria went nuclear, launching a full-scale PR campaign within the family, without specifically addressing the accusations, because that would expose her. She painted herself as the victim of my jealous breakdown. Her Instagram stories were a masterclass in vague posting. Having to stay strong when people try to tear you down, she sent a group text to the extended family. If Blake reaches out to any of you with bizarre accusations, please know he's going through something right now. We're all very concerned. My cousin Megan texted me. Whatever you did to Victoria, you should apologize. She's devastated. I replied with a screenshot of my mortgage payment to my parents' account, with the message, ask Victoria who's really been paying the bills for 3 years. The extended family was confused. Most backed Victoria initially. She'd spent years cultivating her image as the devoted daughter, but cracks were starting to show. My Aunt Linda called me directly. Blake, I'm confused about something. Victoria's been telling everyone for months that she's been financially supporting your parents. But your mom just asked me for $900 to get the utilities turned back on. I told her everything, not with anger, just facts. Dates, dollar amounts, screenshots. There was a long pause on the line. Then, you know, at the last year's Easter, Victoria made a big show of giving your parents an envelope. She said was their mortgage payment. Made us all clap for her. Check the date on that, I said. I bet it was 3 days after I made the actual payment. Jesus, Linda muttered. Does your mother know? She does now. Linda must have told others, because slowly family members started reaching out. Not all believed me immediately, but they were asking questions. Victoria's perfectly crafted narrative was beginning to fray at the edges. Meanwhile, my parents were facing reality. They had to set up utility accounts in their own names. They had to pay deposits because their credit wasn't great. They had to actually look at how much these bills cost. Without the buffer of my silent contributions, Dad found a better job within 3 weeks. Amazing how motivated you can get when there's no safety net. Mom started doing bookkeeping work for a local business. They were adjusting. The truth was spreading through the family like wildfire. Uncle Rick, who had toasted Victoria at Christmas, left me a gruff voicemail. Your father told me what happened. It wasn't right what she did, none of it. My Aunt Patricia, who had always been Team Victoria, sent me a text. I owe you an apology. I believed what Victoria told us we all did. And Victoria was imploding. She couldn't afford to actually pay what she'd claimed to be paying all along. Her image as the family savior was crumbling, and she didn't handle it well. She showed up at my apartment one night, clearly drunk, pounding on the door at 2 a.m. You ruined everything, she slurred when I opened up. They all hate me now. Are you happy? No one hates you, Vic, I said, feeling tired. They're just finally seeing you clearly. She tried to push past me into the apartment, but I blocked her. You need to go home. Part of me still wanted to believe she was redeemable, that there was some version of her that understood what she'd done. But another part, the one that's been ignored and minimized since I was a kid, knew better. Some people aren't sorry they hurt you. They're just sorry you finally stood up. Home! She laughed bitterly. Mom and Dad are barely speaking to me. I'm staying with Melissa. They believe you over me after everything I've done for them. What have you actually done for them, Victoria? I asked. Besides, take credit for my money. Her face contorted with rage. I was there. I listened to Dad cry about losing his job. I helped Mom apply for benefits. I was physically present while you were just throwing money at the problem from a distance. You know what? I said. You're right. You were there and that matters. But it doesn't give you the right to lie about everything else. When did you become so cold? She asked, her voice breaking. I'm not cold, I replied. I'm just done being used. I called her an Uber and sent her home. After she left, I sat on my couch for a long time, feeling a strange mix of vindication and sadness. The family I knew was gone, but maybe that wasn't entirely a bad thing. About a month after Christmas, Dad called me. His voice was different, humbled. We had no idea you were paying so much, he said quietly. Victoria told us she was handling everything. She had explanations for everything. I'm sure she did, I replied. We should have asked more questions, he admitted. We should have seen things more clearly. It wasn't quite an apology, but from my father it was seismic. Is Victoria still staying with you guys? I asked. Dad's sigh was number. She moved in with her friend after everything came out. She says we betrayed her by believing you. Of course she did. Are you and Mom managing okay? I found myself asking, hating that I still cared. "We're getting by," Dad said. "My new job helps. Your mom's working more hours. It's tight, but we're okay." I felt a twinge of guilt, then reminded myself this was how it should have been all along. They were adults. This was their responsibility. "Good," I said. "That's good." Before hanging up, Dad said something that stopped me cold. "You know your mother found some letters in Victoria's old room? Bank statements of yours, credit card bills. Looks like she's been accessing your information for quite some time." I went completely still. "What kind of information?" "Account numbers, passwords maybe." "I don't know all the details. Your mother's pretty upset about it." After hanging up, I immediately called my bank and credit card companies. Sure enough, there had been multiple attempts to access my accounts over the past year. Attempts I'd attributed to random phishing attacks. They all came from IP addresses I now recognized as Victoria's apartment building. She hadn't just been stealing my credit. She'd been trying to steal my actual money. So I filed fraud reports, changed all my passwords, froze my credit, and started the process of pressing charges. Not because I wanted revenge, but because some lines can't be crossed without consequences. As a great man once said, "It's not about money, it's about sending a message." What started as a simple fraud investigation quickly turned into something bigger. The detective assigned to my case asked to meet me at a coffee shop near my apartment. She slid a folder across the table. "I think you need to see this," she said. Inside were bank statements, credit applications, and loan documents, all with my information but none that I'd ever authorized. Victoria had been busy. "How bad is it?" I asked. "She attempted to open 4 credit cards in your name. Was declined for 3 but managed to get one with a $6,000 limit. Maxed it out within a week." I felt sick. I had no idea. "That's not all," she continued. "We found similar patterns with your grandmother's Social Security information, your cousin Megan's wedding fund, and what appears to be some kind of charity money from her yoga studio." "Jesus Christ," I muttered. "Your sister has been very resourceful," she said. Her tone neutral, but her eyes conveying what she really thought. "The district attorney wants to talk to you about pressing charges." I nodded slowly. "I'll do whatever's needed." As I was leaving, the detective said something that stuck with me. "In my experience, Mr. Reynolds, people like your sister don't change. They just find new victims." The next few weeks were a blur of statements, interviews, and legal meetings. My parents were devastated when they learned the full extent of Victoria's actions. Mom called me sobbing one night. How could she do this? How did we not see it? I didn't have an answer that wouldn't hurt her more. The truth was, they had created this monster. By never holding Victoria accountable for anything, the family fracture deepened. Some relatives, the ones who had benefited from Victoria's charismatic presence, still defended her. She must have been desperate. She didn't mean to hurt anyone. Blake's blowing this out of proportion. Others, those who'd been burned by her lies, or had seen through her act years ago, rallied around me. My cousin Ben, who I'd barely spoken to in years, reached out. I always knew something was off with her. The way she'd take credit for everything good, and blame others for anything bad. The divide was painful but clarifying. It showed me who actually cared about truth, versus who just wanted to maintain the comfortable family fiction we'd all been living in. 4 months after Christmas, Victoria was formally charged, with multiple counts of identity theft, credit card fraud, and embezzlement. She rejected a plea deal, convinced she could charm her way out of consequences as she always had. And it didn't work. The evidence was overwhelming. Bank records don't lie even when sisters do. 7 months after that Christmas, I'm sitting in a courtroom, watching Victoria plead guilty to identity theft and fraud. Turns out my situation wasn't unique. Once investigators started digging, they found she'd been borrowing money from several sources. Our grandmother's Social Security checks, our cousin's wedding fund, even skimming from the charity drive she organized at her yoga studio. The look on her face when the judge denies her attorney's request for probation instead of jail time is something I'll carry with me forever. Not because I enjoy seeing her suffer, but because it's the first time in her life that her tears, her excuses, her "but I'm special" defense doesn't work. Reality, as they say, is a bitch. My parents are in the back of the courtroom. Mom's crying silently. Dad looks 10 years older. They didn't want to come, but I insisted. Not to punish them, but because they needed to see the truth with their own eyes. After the sentencing, 20 months likely to serve 10, I meet them outside. We stand awkwardly in the courthouse parking lot. These people who raised me, who I both love and resent in equal measure. We didn't know, Mom says finally, her voice barely audible. About any of it. I know, I say, and I do. They didn't know because they didn't want to know. Because Victoria had spent a lifetime training them to see only what she wanted them to see. Will you ever forgive us? Dad asks, and the vulnerability in his voice nearly breaks me. I'm working on it, I answer honestly. But it's going to take time. They nod, understanding finally that some wounds don't heal with a simple apology. That trust once broken isn't easily restored. We go to dinner, the 3 of us, and talk more honestly than we have in years. About Victoria, yes, but also about our family dynamics. About the golden child pedestal they put her on. About how they never saw me clearly. We took you for granted, Mom admits, because you never seemed to need us the way she did. Everyone needs to be seen, Mom, I reply. Even the quiet ones, especially the quiet ones. They drive back to their house. Their mortgage now refinanced in their names alone. Their bills set up on automatic payments from their own accounts. I drive back to my apartment, which I've finally made truly mine. New furniture, new art on the walls. A space that reflects who I am, rather than just a place to crash between family crises. I've saved over $11,600 not paying their bills. Some of it I've used to improve my life. A better car, actual furniture that matches. Guitar lessons I've always wanted. Some of it is in a savings account for the future. My future. But the biggest change isn't financial, it's mental. The constant background anxiety is gone. That feeling of dread when my phone would ring, wondering what crisis or bill needed handling this time. The family's still messy. Some relatives still look at me sideways, not fully believing Victoria could have done what she did. She was always so sweet, so thoughtful. The mask she wore was convincing, because she'd had a lifetime to perfect it. My relationship with my parents, there isn't one anymore. I blocked their numbers after the court case. No calls, no texts, no awkward holiday dinners, just complete radio silence. Some people act shocked when I tell them I cut off my entire family. But they're your parents. Yeah, and for 27 years they treated me like an ATM with legs. While worshipping the ground, my sister walked on. Some things can't be fixed with a half-assed apology and a few care packages. The extended family took sides pretty quick. Most of them backed Victoria and my parents. Blood is thicker than water and all that shit. A few reached out claiming they always knew something was off, but I'm not interested in their retroactive support. Where were they when Victoria was taking credit for my money? Nowhere to be found. As for Victoria, she's serving her time. She still has supporters who believe she was misunderstood, or just trying to help in her own way. Some people will never see the truth, even when it's staring them in the face. But I'm not responsible for their delusions anymore. Last week I received a letter from her. I recognized her handwriting on the envelope, postmarked from the correctional facility. I didn't even bother opening it. Just straight into the shredder. Whatever manipulation tactic she was trying to pull. I'm not playing that game anymore. My sister spent years creating a false narrative, where she was the hero, and I was irrelevant background noise. She built her pedestal on my invisible support, took credit for my sacrifices and turned my family against me. But in the end, as another great man once said, the truth has a way of coming out of the shadows. I'm no longer living in anyone's shadow. Not Victoria's, not my parents', not even my own limited view of what I deserved. And as I'm typing this, I'm thinking, it's actually been almost a year since that Christmas when I finally had enough. Victoria's serving her time and I've completely rebuilt my life. Sometimes I get random texts from burner numbers. My mom trying to reach out or distant relatives playing mediator. I just block and delete. You had 27 years to treat me like a human being. That window's closed now. Some people think I'm cold for cutting off my entire family. That's fine, they weren't there. They didn't live it. And honestly, I'm done explaining myself to anyone. I've got a new job at a tech startup. Better pay, better culture, people who actually appreciate what I bring. I'm dating someone now, Sarah. She's a graphic designer, smart, funny, doesn't have a manipulative bone in her body. When I told her about my family situation, she just said, "Sounds like you made the right choice." Toxic is toxic. No judgment, no pressure to reconcile. Just acceptance that sometimes walking away is the healthiest option. I bought a house last month. Nothing fancy, but it's mine. Every payment comes from my account. Every decision is mine to make. No one can take credit for what I've built. I've started going to therapy too. Working through years of being gaslit and minimized. Learning to trust my own perceptions again. My therapist says I show classic signs of being the scapegoat child. The one who gets blamed for everything while the golden child can do no wrong. It's validating to have a name for what I experienced. To know I'm not crazy or overly sensitive. The family dynamic was fucked and I was the only one seeing it clearly. I still have trust issues. Still catch myself overanalyzing people's motives. Wondering if they're using me for something. But it's getting better. Sarah's patience helps. She doesn't try to fix me or push me to heal faster. Just lets me process at my own pace. Last month, my Aunt Linda tried reaching out through Sarah's Instagram. Sent her a long message about how the family misses me. How Victoria's incarceration has been hard on everyone. How maybe it's time to heal and move forward. Sarah showed me the message and asked what I wanted her to do. Block her, I said without hesitation. My healing doesn't require their participation. That felt good to say. For the first time in my life, I'm putting my own well-being first. Not trying to earn love or approval from people who've already shown me who they are. I sleep better now. Don't wake up in a cold sweat wondering what crisis awaits. Don't check my phone with dread. Don't feel responsible for other people's poor choices. The holidays were weird this year. Sarah and I went to her family's place for Easter. Normal people with normal problems. No one trying to manipulate anyone. No hidden agendas or credit stealing. Just a family that actually likes each other. Her mom asked about my family, and I gave her the short version. We're not in contact anymore. She didn't pry, just said, "Sometimes that's for the best," and moved on to asking about my work. That's what healthy families do. They respect boundaries. I've been thinking about changing my last name. Starting completely fresh. Reynolds carries too much baggage. Too many memories of being the forgotten son. The reliable one who could handle anything. I'm thinking Thompson or maybe Carter? Something clean, something mine. Victoria will be out in about 8 months if she gets good behavior credits. I wonder sometimes if she's learned anything. If prison has given her time to reflect on what she did. But then I remember what the detective said. People like your sister don't change, they just find new victims. She'll probably get out and immediately start working on her comeback story. How she was wrongly convicted. How I destroyed the family out of jealousy. How she's the real victim in all this. I won't be there to see it. Won't be there to defend myself or set the record straight. And I'm okay with that. Let her tell whatever story she wants to. Whoever will listen. I know the truth. I have the bank records, the court documents, the receipts. More importantly, I have my peace. And that's worth more than any family relationship built on lies. Sometimes people ask if I ever regret it. Blowing up my family, pressing charges, walking away from everyone. The answer is no. Not for a second. I regret waiting so long to stand up for myself. I regret all those years of silent support and invisible sacrifice. I regret believing their narrative about who I was. But I don't regret choosing myself. I don't regret demanding the truth. And I sure as hell don't regret cutting off people who saw me as disposable. This is my life now. Quiet, peaceful, honest. No drama, no manipulation, no family politics. Just me, Sarah, our cat Pixel, and a future I'm building on my own terms. For the first time in 27 years, I'm exactly where I want to be. With people who see me, value me, and treat me like I matter. And Victoria? Victoria can enjoy explaining to her cellmate how she used to be the family golden child. How she had everyone fooled for so long. Right up until she didn't. Karma's a bitch, but so is the truth, and the truth always wins in the end.